Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I will add the fair value gap into my market master indicator. So this is my documentation for the market master project, and as you can see we have already added the key market levels, overall trend, and the BOS feature. Okay, so now I will work on the fair value gaps, and in the later videos I will focus on the fractals and zigzag patterns. Okay, so I think I should start by basically explaining what a fair value gap is. The best way to explain this is to find a picture, which I found already. It's right here, and I will explain it on this picture. So the fair value gap is a candlestick pattern that consists of 3 consecutive candlesticks. The idea is that for the bullish fair value gap is that basically the high of the third candlestick and the low of the first candlestick basically creates this gap. Okay, so there's this gap between these two price points, and this gap is called fair value gap. And the same thing is for the bearish side of the fair value gap, or for the bearish type of fair value gap. You basically check the distance between the high of the first candlestick, the low of the third candlestick, and if there is a gap, this gap is fair value gap. So it's a very powerful concept, I would say. So that's why I decided to add this to the market master indicator. So let's do it. Yeah, this is my MT5 IDE, and I think we can check basically how the indicator looks like so far. So let's deploy this Euro USD, for example. It really doesn't matter on what trading instrument you deploy the indicator, so let's just check it. I will also disable the daily levels because I just don't need them and I don't like them. So this is what we have so far. I can see it doesn't yet. So this is what we are working with so far. So yeah, so let's continue and let's add the fair value gap feature. So this is my code right here. So this is the code for the market master indicator, and let's start working. Okay, so before we start, I think we should basically assess all of the steps we need to do. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to create an input section for the fair value gap. It's the same thing as we did for the BOS or for the trend analysis. Okay, so this is the first thing. The second thing is that we have to decide on the visualization. So what I have in mind is that I will do something like this. So I hope it's visible, but like when there is a fair value gap, I will create a rectangle which will basically highlight the area of fair value gap, and then this rectangle will extend until the price basically fills the area, and then it stops. So it should look like this. Okay, so I have to decide on the color of the rectangle, and also like the type, style, and stuff like this. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is to create a function that will be able to detect the fair value gap pattern. And the fourth thing I will have to do is something I won't tell you about now. I will leave that for the end of this video. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, let's create a new input section. So this will be called fair value gap settings. And let's add some settings. So the first setting will be input show fair value gap. So this is for the user to enable or disable the fair value gap patterns being displayed on the chart. So by default we set to true, because by default we want to see the fair value gaps. Okay, so then we have to decide on the bullish fair value gap color, and we also have to decide on bearish fair value gap color. Okay, so this basically means what color will the rectangles have. I think it might be nice to use some light shadows or light green, light red, something like this. So light green for the bullish fair value gap, light red for the bearish fair value gap. So let's search for such colors. So let's do color palette. So here, sorry, this is from my college. Okay, so let's continue. So let's look for some nice colors. Okay, for designers. Okay, it shouldn't be palette. I guess it should be wheel. Color wheel, maybe. Ah, this looks nice. Can I use this? Okay, I can use this. Okay, so let's search for some nice green color. Let's try this one. Okay, so this is what I will use for the bullish, and here are the RGB codes that I need. So 159, 255, 69. Okay, so let's do this. So C, and it was 159, 255, and 69. Okay, and now let's find yeah, this is correct. And now let's find the same thing but for the red color. Okay, so I want very light shade of red. Maybe something like this. Let's try this color, and if I don't like it I can change it later. So 1, 2, 5. So C, sorry, 1, 2, 5. The second color, what was it? 9158. 9158. Okay, perfect. So this is basically this is done. So let's continue. So okay, and also here. Okay, so let's continue. I think for now this is enough for the inputs section, because there are no like any other inputs I should add at this moment. So sorry. Yeah, so let's move on to those functions that will spot the fair value gap pattern. Okay, one thing, normally I would create, or is it there? Sorry. Okay, yeah, I will create one more thing. So if you remember in the previous video, I used these create trend line and create text functions, which basically made my life much easier when I wanted to create multiple objects of the same type. Okay, so I had to like prepare function like this, and then when I wanted to create a new text, for example, I just have to call this function with just bunch of parameters. So since I will be using the rectangle object a lot, and I haven't used a rectangle object so far, I will create such function for the rectangle as well. Okay, so since rectangle is very similar to the trend object, I will copy this create trend line function. I will copy it here, and I will just change a few things so I can use it for the rectangle. So I will give it a different name. So create rectangle. Okay. So this is the first thing, and now so we need name, so I can keep the name. So price, starting and ending date, color of line style. Okay, so I definitely need one more price price variable. So I will do price1. Right after that, I will create a new input called price2. And starting date, ending date is okay. Color of line, it won't be color of line, it will be filling color, okay. And I think I don't need this line style because I can't set a line style to the rectangle, or at least I think I can't, because it just doesn't make sense, because a rectangle is not a line, so it can't have a style, yeah, of line. And then inside here, name is equal to prefix plus name, which is okay. Object create. So I won't be creating object rand, I will be creating object rectangle. Starting date price 1, ending date price 2. Okay. Object set integer, object. And I think now I have to change a few things here. So object prop BG color. Okay, so this is like the color, this is the filling color. Okay, I will delete this thing because I don't want, or I can't set a style to this. I will just say this, so true. So this is me setting the background filling color for the rectangle, and this is me saying I want to fill the inside of the rectangle. Okay, so this should be okay. This should be okay. Okay, so I guess let's continue. So now I will create a new function. Let's call this detect fair value gap. And I will need shift input in here. Shift basically meaning I need to know the shift in order to know with which candlestick I should work. Okay, so yeah, so that's why I need the shift variable in here. So then what I can do is that I can simply start coding. So if you remember, fair value gap consists of 3 candlesticks, so I will need information about the last 3 candlesticks. So let's do it. So let's do close. I don't need all of the information here, but I will create or I will store all of the available information about the candlesticks, but I won't need all of it. But I will just do it like this. So symbol, period, current, shift, simple. So now close, open, high, low. So let me just rename this. High and low, and let me just change to I open, I high, and I low. The shift will stay the same. So now I can just copy this, paste it here, and now I can just change this to close 2, open 2, high 2, low 2, close 3, open 3, high 3, low 3. And let's just change. So for close 3, it will be shift plus 2. Sorry, not 22, just 2. And I can copy this, paste it here, here, and here. And for close 2, it will be shift plus 1. So let's just do this. Perfect. So now let's detect the bullish fair value gap first. So the idea is that there is a distance between high 3 and low 1, okay? And the distance has to be positive, like I have to take this value minus this value, and the result has to be positive, because if it's not positive, it means that this high is higher than this low, okay? And also I have to be aware of, or I have to check whether the low of this candlestick is lower than low of this candlestick, and the high of this candlestick is lower than high of this candlestick. Okay, so let's do it. So if low 1 is higher than high 3 and low 2 is higher than low 3 and high 2 is lower than high 1. If all of these things are true, there is bullish fair value gap, or there should be, yeah. And now I will just copy this and I will change this. So if I have to change these things. So if high 1 is lower than low 3 and high 2 is lower than high 3 and low 2 is higher than low 1, there is bearish. So I hope I got these conditions right. If not, I will change it later. So now, like, what I have to do now is that I have to call my create rectangle function. So name will be, I don't know, let me also get current. Let's do starting date, which will be time symbol period current shift +1. So name will be, let's just give it the name of fair value gap plus starting date. Price 1 will be equal to high 3. Price 2 will be equal to low 1. Starting date will be equal to starting date. So now ending date, like, we don't know when the fair value gap will get filled. So by default, I will do something like starting date plus period seconds, period current times, I don't know, 5, for example, and then I will like update the rectangle based on the price action of the following candlesticks. Yeah, and now I also need to specify the color here, which will be equal to the bullish input bullish fair value gap color. So I hope you can see the entire code here. So yeah, so let's just copy this, paste it here, and let's create the same thing for the bearish fair value gap. So create a rectangle fair value gap starting date. So now this will be equal to low 3, high 1, starting date, ending date stays the same, and here I just change this to the bearish. So now there will be a huge experiment, or now I will call this function and let's see how it looks like basically. So I will go here on calculate function and let's just call, how was it called? Fair value create. How was this function called? It was called detect fair value gap, and the shift will be equal to shift. Okay, so this will be huge. So let's do it. It works. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So it does detect the fair value gaps. Of course, there are some things we need to update. Okay, so obviously the first thing that doesn't work is the color. Okay, it has like all of these colors are the same, and there is also one more thing I have to change. Obviously, when we use the trend analyzer, let's say, the trend filter using a red color on red candlesticks basically doesn't make sense because you can't see anything. Okay, so let's work on the colors, and then I can change the rest. So it's bearish, fair, bullish, fair. Like this should be okay. I just think I have it a little bit wrong in my section here. So let's try with color. Maybe it just needs the color. Yeah, and that's it. Okay, so now it has the colors basically based on what we declared in the inputs menu. Okay, so now, do I like this? I don't. It looks horrendous, so let's work on it. So the first thing that comes to my mind is to set all of these objects to back, okay? So let's just change this. So now it looks a little bit nicer, okay? So that now there's no overlap of the fair value gap and the candlestick, okay? So this is how it looks now, this is how it looked before, okay? So like it overlaps over this candlestick, and I don't like this. So let's just set this to true. Okay. So this is first thing. The second thing, as I said, it doesn't look nice with the red color because you just can't see anything. Or like you can see it, but it's just not that nice. Okay, so what to do next? Do you know what? Let's now deal with the last issue, okay? The last issue is basically extending the fair value gap until it gets filled. Okay, and then we can work on the visualization part. Okay, so let's extend these fair value gaps. Let's extend these. Also, there's one more thing. I'm not sure if, for example, this fair value gap is solid or is okay, because yeah, the pattern is okay, but this first candlestick, let's say, is bearish. It should be, oh sorry, these two previous candlesticks, oh they are probably, but just in our trend filter thing it looks okay. Let's not worry about that. Let's extend the fair value gaps until the price fills the area. So by default, what I will do is that I will change this to 1. So now it will look like this. So it's still there, it just doesn't extend. Yeah, it extends for 1 candlestick, which looks like this. Sorry. So now what I have to do is that I have to like create let's say a list of all of the active fair value gaps, and I have to check for the price. I have to check the actual price, and I have to check basically the boundaries of each of the fair value gaps, and if the price is inside of those boundaries, I have to disable that fair value gap because it got filled. Okay, so I guess let's do it. Okay, so just 1 second. Okay, it's moving. Okay, so how to do this? Okay, so I will create, I will create an array. So let's call this string active fair value gap names. So this will be for the names. Okay, so this will be an array. Perfect. And then basically when I create a new rectangle, I create a new fair value gap, I will add the name of the new fair value gap to this array. Okay, so I will basically add a new active fair value gap. So since I don't know the size of this array, I have to make it like a dynamic array. So working with dynamic arrays in MQL5 is a little bit more difficult because like you have to do everything manually, as I will show you here. So first of all, I have to resize the active fair value gap names, and the new size is array size of the active fair value gaps names plus 1, and reserve size is 0. And then I will do active fair value gaps at position -1 is equal to prefix plus this thing right here. Okay. Perfect. So this is basically my array of active fair value gaps. So now I will create a new function that will be called update fair value gaps, or update fair value gap. And inside of this function, I will basically update and extend these active fair value gaps. And then I will call this update fair value gap function right here. Okay, so let's do it. So the easiest way to do this is to simply create a for loop. So for integer x is equal to 0, x is lower than array size of active fair value gap names and x plus plus. And string current fair value gap is equal to active fair value gaps at position x. So this is basically me looping through all of the active fair value gap objects, and the first thing I do is that I get the name for the current fair value gap I'm working with, because I can access the attributes of the fair value gap object through its name. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. So then I can do object, how is it done? Because I haven't done this in so long. I know it's like searching or setting the object. Object get object get. Okay, object get double. So now like when I had this function, I used object set integer. So this command set means basically I am setting some property to that specific object. If I call get, okay, so for example in this case object get double, it means that I want to get that property, or the value of some property of the object I'm working with. I want to get that value from it. Okay, so I am basically just checking what's the value. So object get double. And now what I have to do is that I have to get basically the higher price and the lower price. Okay, so I have to basically get the boundaries of the fair value gaps. So I don't know how to do this. I will try my best. So chart ID is 0, object name is current fair value gap, and now it's object property price, and I think it should be at like 0 should be 1. So let's do first price, okay, and then I have to get the second price as well. Hopefully this will work, but I'm not sure. Like, to be honest, I am really not sure if this is going to work. And then just to check this, I want to check this, but without yeah, how to check this? Let's just do, I don't know, let's just delete this. Okay, so now it stopped. Yeah, so now it stops working. Okay, does it? Okay, perfect. So let's just, or now just don't worry about this. This is just for testing purposes, okay? So don't worry about what I'm doing right now. You don't have to understand this part. Okay, so now I just want to check whether I get the correct price. You can see these numbers here. They should be the correct prices, and they are like, okay, so I shouldn't, I didn't, okay, so this is not ideal. Let me do this one more time. Okay, so now I get, but I'm not sure for which. I get this. I guess I did it right. Like, it shows me some values. It looks like higher and lower price for fair value gap because the distance between these two values is acceptable for fair value gap. It seems like this is all right. Okay, so now let me just do this. I don't have to do this here. Sorry. This, delete this thing, delete this thing, and delete this thing. Okay, so now I need one more information. I need to know the current closing price. I need to know the current closing price, basically. And here I have to check. So first of all, I have to, so max value is equal to math max from first price, second price. Min value is equal to math min first price, second price. So this is just so I know which value is higher, which value is lower, okay? And now that I have this information, I can check. So if current close is higher than minimum value and current close is lower than, no, this is not the best way. I need to also know the current close and previous close. So if current close is higher than minimum value and previous close is lower than minimum value, or current close is lower than maximum value and previous close is higher than maximum value. So if one of these conditions are true or is true, then basically the price filled the fair value gap and we can close the fair value gap. Yeah. So if this is true, then I will remove that element from the fair value from active fair value gap name. So array remove array is active fair value gap names, start is at position X and count is 1. And if this is not true, then I will update the fair value gap rectangle so it moves or so it extends. Okay, so object set integer. So this is also part I am not good at. I don't remember how to do this, so just wish me luck. So this is current fair value gap object prop and now time. So let me just search for this. I think it will be safer. So MQL5 update rectangle. So how to update a rectangle here? Maybe this. Change the second time and price. Anchors. Okay. So this is useful, but I still I think I can check this for anchor. Maybe anchor? I'm so dumb, sorry. I am so I am so dumb. Like, I know this part. I just need to know how to extend come on. Okay, so you can skip this part, I guess. I just need to know how to extend this. So rectangle delete, change rectangle empty points. Start. Rectangle create rectangle. Okay, so shift the point. So rectangle point change. Object move. Oh, come on. Yes. Object move. Perfect. So 0. Oh my god. As I said, I haven't worked with this in so long. So point index. So now I'm not sure which point index. So let me just find it here. Point, where was it? I think it should be 1. So time is, I will also need date time, current time, and price will be object get double 0 current fair value gap object price 1, I guess. Can it work like this? You will see. So close to and I time symbol period current shift. Okay, so now it will be like huge. Okay, so now it will be huge. Let's check it. If I get this on my first try, I will be so happy. It seems like I won't because it stopped working. Okay, so we have yet another Oh, it did work. Okay. So it does work. It does work. Okay, so yeah, perfect. It does work. There is one obvious issue, and that is that this is a mess. Like, but when you check the strategy here, or like when you check this, you can see that this works correctly. So for example, this fair value gap right here gets updated up until this point where this closing price basically fills the fair value gap. So this is correct. The only thing is that we have so many objects here that like this is just crazy. So what I would do is that I would like set minimum distance in points for fair value gap object. Okay, so for example, if the fair value gap is this size right here, which is like 8 points, I don't want to create this fair value gap because it's too small. So let's just do something like this. Okay, so let's go here and let's create input integer, input fair value gap minimum points size. Let's do 100 by default. Okay, this will be this has to be changed with each time frame. Okay, because every time frame or the scale on every time frame is different. So let's just do it here. So and now so we go from high and here low 1 minus high 3 is higher than this thing times point. And let's just take this here, paste it here, and let's just change this to low 3 minus high 1. So now when I do this, you can see that now we don't have so many fair value gaps. Okay, so we don't have too many fair value gaps, which is nice, like, which is really nice. And now if I want to filter this even more, I can just go here and I can just say the minimum distance is, for example, 200 points. Okay, so now it will create less objects as well. So now, like, I don't know, like, it does what it should do, but I just don't like the visualization part because it's so aggressive in my opinion. It's so aggressive. I think what might help is that, so what might help here is that I probably, like, if I change this to 50 and now it will just redraw everything, you can see that, like, I don't need information about these fair value gaps. Okay, I don't need this. I just need information for the last X number of candlesticks, because it really doesn't make sense like to check this fair value gap right here. This is small fair value gap and it extends all the way up here somewhere. Okay, so what I will also do is that I will add this input integer, input fair value gap candles analysis. So this is basically for how many candlesticks I want to do the analysis of fair value gaps. Okay, and here I will just say, I'll go here and I'll just say this. So if shift is higher than this thing, I want to return. So now I should only get the most recent fair value gaps, and I do. Okay, so This is okay. This is okay with me. Yeah, so these are the fair value gaps. You can see them. So now let's update the visualization, because like this is too aggressive for me. Since fair value gaps like are not that important, they are important, but they are not that important. I don't want them to be so aggressive. Okay. So let's check some. Well, the best thing to do here would be like to make the objects more transparent. But the issue with MQL5 is that you can't make objects transparent that easily. Like there are some libraries that allow you to do that, but they are very difficult to work with when creating indicators. And it's just not something that I want to do, to be honest. So like to do something like this, for example, that would be perfect. So, or something like this. But this is very aggressive as well. So I guess what I will do is that I will look for different colors. So this is too aggressive for me. Let's try maybe this color. Maybe this color. Maybe this one. Oh, this is. Or we can use something entirely different. We can, for example, use this color. Okay, so this is like, I feel like this color right here will be very light. Okay, so let's just try this. Let's replace the bearish. Let's just see how it looks like. It's still so aggressive. Like, I think I won't be able to find the perfect color combination, because like I can't do transparent colors here. So that's the issue. Let me ask my friend here. I need RGB code for very light red. Let's try this. Okay, so he tells me this is the one, so let's just check it. Let's go here, let's reset this. Okay, this is not bad. This is very light. I will ask him, I need more light red. Okay, so can he give me for even lighter red? Okay. Let's try this thing. So this should be even lighter. Okay, so let's save this. Let's go here. Let's reset this. I can see the difference. Okay, so I guess this is as light as we can go here. Yeah. So I will keep this. I think for the bullish fair value gap, this is okay. Or like, you can end the video here because I won't be adding anything new to the like indicator wise, let's say. I will just change the visualization and that's it. So you can stop watching here if you are not interested in me finding the perfect color scheme for the fair value gap. The next thing, let me just find or look for something on the internet. So yeah, so it's the same thing, like it will look like this. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think I have to be okay with this. I will ask him for light green. Okay, so let's go for this color right here. Let's change it in the inputs. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's reset. Okay, yeah, so yeah, this green color is nice. So there is one last thing I will do. So with the BOS, as you can see here, like I've added this text that tells me that this is BOS, and I will do the same thing for the fair value gap. So I guess let's add it. So here I create the rectangle. So with the rectangle I will also create text. So string name is the same one as here, and I will just use this txt string. So string text is, so this is bullish, fair value gap, time. So now everything will be the same. So this is this thing right here. Price will be high 3, I guess. Color. Okay, so let's just do simple color white for now, and I will change it later. And size, I don't know which size did I use in the BOS thing. So in the BOS I used, so this is the month levels. So this is BOS function. Oh, font size. So I use the font size here, and the font size is 10. So let's go down here. Let's go here and let's do 10. And I think this should be okay. So now let's just do the same thing here. Bearish fair value gap. Good. And I think now it's low 3 right here. And I think it should stay the same. I think this should work. So now we have this text right here. Do I like this? I don't. I don't like this. It's let's agree on this. So BE will be for a bearish fair value gap and BU will be for bullish. Okay, so let's just agree on this thing right here. And also I will do high 1 right here. So it's, so now it looks much better, but do we need this? Yeah, I think we do. I think we do need this. I will just decrease the font size because this is come on, this is not nice. Let's do 8, and I think this can work. Okay, I think this can work. The only thing I will update is that first of all this should be at starting date, so it shouldn't be at the ending date, so it should be centered like this. And now I want to basically update the text with the rectangle, okay, so with the fair value gap. So this can be done pretty simply. I just have to create a new array, and then I just have to copy this thing here, and I have to just replace this plus txt. Okay, so now let me just here, paste it here. Okay, so now x1, otherwise does it get updated? Yes. Why it doesn't get updated? So what I did is that basically I did the same thing as I did for the fair value gap. Yeah, so but for some reason the text stays. Like I want the text to be moved with the, so this is bullish fair value gap, this is bearish fair value gap, and I want to move the text basically with the fair value gap. How long? 56 minutes, that's okay. But I don't know, so this should be okay. Current time. Check the price, maybe 0. Maybe also 0 here, because it doesn't have the second one. And now, yeah, now it moves. Perfect. So now it moves. Okay, let me just do this here. Now it's perfect. Yeah, so yeah, this looks okay. Okay, so now this looks okay. The text does update. Like, is it necessary to update it? I don't think it is. But I did, so I will keep it there. So now let's just update the inputs menu real quick. So what I did here. So first of all, input boolean show or input fair value gap at text is equal to true. So if you don't want to see the text, you can disable it. So let's just do this thing right here, and let's just do this. So if yeah, very simple. So if and if and now if this thing and if this thing. Okay, so now I can just go here. So for example, I don't like this text, I can just go here, false, and it will disappear. Okay, so it's not there. I want to enable, I go here, I set true, and it's there. I don't want it there, I go here, set false, it's not there. Okay, so you can control the text with this. So now we have to do a few more things. So first of all, input int integer input fair value gap text font font size will be equal to 8 by default, and now input. Okay, so it will be equal to 8 by default. So let's go here. I think it's here. Let's replace this with this. I will also change the color. And I think this should be okay. So now it shows you. I don't know. What do you think about the text thing? Like, the thing that I fear the most is that there will be so much noise on the chart that it won't be effective, because yeah, like the visualization part is is one thing, yeah, but the main important thing to keep in mind is that the indicator has to be readable. Okay, so you just have to like look on the chart, and you have to be able basically to like tell what's happening. And as we will continue adding these other features, I fear that it won't be as readable as it should be. So, do you know what? Fuck it. I will, by default, I won't display the text, because I just don't like it. If you want the text there, you can just set it to true. And so now, by default, it won't have the text. So now it's like pretty simple to see. The fair value gaps are okay, yeah. With this candleless analysis feature, I think it helped the fair value gaps a lot. And yeah, I think this is okay. There's one more thing that comes to my mind, and the thing is that basically when you look at the analysis, you might only need unfilled fair value gaps, okay? Because like the idea of fair value gap is that the price should fill the gap, okay? So if it fills the gap and the gap is filled already, it doesn't make sense to show the user that specific gap, okay? Because it's filled. So what I also think might be a nice touch to this indicator is to add this feature. So input boolean input fair value gap show filled, okay, which will be by default set to true, but we can turn this to false. And basically the only difference is that if we want to, like, the only difference is going to be that if this is set to false, so I don't want to show filled fair value gaps, I will also delete the object. So it's very simple. So it will be like this, and also now at position X, and this thing right here at position X as well. Yeah, so this is very, very simple thing, I guess. And this should take care of the problem. If input, come on, fair value, give a text. Okay, so let's just test this out. So now I want to show the filled fair value gaps. I go here, I set false, So now I don't want to see the filled fair value gaps, and I don't see anything because all of the fair value gaps were filled. So now I can go here, I can increase the candle analysis to something like 2000, for example. And now it will only show me the unfilled fair value gaps, okay? So this is, for example, an unfilled fair value gap. And just to see all of those fair value gaps unfilled, I can say that minimum point size is 10. So now I will see even more unfilled fair value gaps. Yeah. And now what I can also do is that I can go here and I can decrease this to, for example, 500. So I just keep the most recent ones. And now it finally makes sense. So this is how it should be used. So you should filter for the most recent fair value gaps like this. So they are the ones that make sense, basically, to look for. Then you shouldn't filter by the size then, because, so let's do 10, okay, by default. And you shouldn't show the filled, okay? So let's just set this to false by default. Okay, so now when I'm a new user, I don't know what I'm doing. I just go here, I want to deploy this, and now it looks like this, okay? So it gives me a good information. It shows me unfilled fair value gaps. It doesn't show me a lot of unfilled fair value gaps, so it only shows me basically what I need to know, what I need to see. And yeah, it doesn't generate much noise. Yeah, what I can also do is that I can show the text here. So now it shows me the text. I know basically what's happening, but I don't need to see the text because I know what's happening because I developed this indicator. So let's turn this to false, and this is beauty. This is really nice. This is really nice. So now I want to see filled, and I see all of these filled fair value gaps as well. Now I don't want to see filled fair value gaps, so I go here, set this to false, and now I only see the active fair value gaps. Like, I think this is perfect. This is perfect. So I hope you haven't stopped watching the video when I said you can stop it. You can stop watching it because this is extremely useful feature in my opinion. We can also filter for these small fair value gaps by setting the minimum distance to 50 or 25, for example, or 55, for example. Yeah. And you can filter these small fair value gaps, and it looks like this. So yeah, I am happy. I am happy with this piece of work. Okay, so this is it for this video. If you have any recommendations or ideas how to improve the fair value gap section, please let me know in the comment section, because yeah, I always want to hear new ideas. And this is it from me. So thank you for your time and have a nice day. Bye.